Okay.
Okay, ready? Okay.
For scenario one, I personally believe that all parties involved should be fired. Doesn't matter how big the corporation is, I really do think that once you sign on to be an employee with this company, you sign like agreements to like not steal, not break any of the policies, and seeing that all three parties are somehow involved, like Wanda, not really monitoring the self-checkout stand and letting them go through. She's kind of involved, so I really do think that all three employees deserve to be fired. Yes.
I kind of agree with that. I think that Sam and Pat should be fired because they were the ones actually carrying out, the stealing. But although Wanda should be held accountable for not paying attention and taking care of what she was supposed to be doing, I don't think Wanda should be fired because she didn't actually steal anything. Yeah, she should have repercussions for not doing her job, but I don't think that she should be fired.
I agree with you. I do think that the other two parties involved should be fired because they were stealing, but mistakes happen, and even though it states clearly she let them go without paying, there's room for the gray area where maybe she didn't know they were stealing or the amount they were stealing. And plus she's 1 year away from getting the benefit.
But then it goes into, I think it's more questioning her now, not that it's just she's close to getting 4 years and maybe she didn't know. There's also, if she wasn't the one stealing, is she still getting benefits from it?
Oh.
Because it doesn't state anything that
Yeah.
she just let them go because they're friends or whatever.
Yeah.
If she's letting them go because she gets some sort of incentive from doing it, then that's another problem where then yes, get fired also.
I think it's definitely important to say that it's the amount of tenure that you have is not relevant to this conversation because that shouldn't be applied to this scenario. But Wanda in this case shouldn't be liable for the actions of others, and so while there should be a reprimanding of Wanda and maybe a suspended pay or something like that, I think she deserves a second chance.
Yeah, I would agree. I think with Wanda, I would allow her to keep working. I think it would just be something where you'd have to constantly keep an eye out for and keep surveillance on, and just if she has any other involvement in something like that again, it would be more of a fireable offense. Go ahead.
It does say in the beginning that it's been an ongoing joke for paint to be stolen from the store. So who knows how long this has been going on for, and there is like Andrea said, there's definitely a gray area for Wanda's situation, but doesn't state how long this has been going on for. So if this has been an ongoing thing for let's say a month or so, and she is somehow always so involved, she's always letting them slide through, then there's clearly something going on with the three of them. But let's just say it's I'll give the benefit of the doubt. Yes, mistakes do happen. If this was the first time Sam and Pat have done this, then there's that little gray area of was it a mistake, or did she was she just letting them do this? But I don't know. There's not much to go off of.
I want to pose a question of: do you think it matters if one of the two of Sam or Pat were the mastermind and the other was sort of coerced into stealing? Because I feel that is a scenario where they're oh, you won't be liable for this, we'll get away with it. And so say Sam's mastermind, he gets Pat to do it with him, and instead of Sam just getting fired because it's his idea, they both get fired because of
I mean, I also want to add on to your question that you're posing, especially because we're so on the fence about what to do with Wanda. We both agree that Sam and Pat should get punishment and be fired. We don't know what to do with Wanda. What if Wanda was the one that told both of them to steal it, and then she was I'll let it go, I'll pretend I'm not looking, and then she's really in control of it. So in that case, we would want to fire her.
I think it's all scenarios.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if we should keep it as exactly what this question is asking us, or if we want to have answers for two different scenarios, whether
Mhm.
Wanda is actually involved, or she's just someone that got looped into something.
Mhm.
So it's how we want to interpret this question, I guess.
Yeah. It also asks for the various stakeholders affected by the decision. I think we kind of established that, like, I think just 3 of them are the main people that are going to be affected by this decision. But I don't know. Who else do you guys think?
And Thomas, sorry.
Oh no, you're good, you're good. I think the neighborhood as well. So like now that the employees will probably be fired and the others see that there is repercussions, there probably won't be homes being painted anymore. So I think those are also stakeholders.
And you were saying, you said Thomas?
Well, I mean, he's the one that's, you know, deciding if, I mean, who is liable, and goes back to our question of, you know, who was the mastermind? Does that matter in this scenario, or, you know, what's the relevance? What's the punishment? All the questions, but.
Yeah. I think it's just all, like, based on what this prompt's given us, it's all a lot of gray area for sure.
Yeah.
But,
I think we can make a decision, just
Yeah.
2 scenarios. If Wanda's involved, then all 3 of them get fired.
Yes.
If she's just somehow part of this, just for some reason, she's getting reprimanded and consequences.
Mhm.
But I think overall, 2 employees are getting fired for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we have to do like all 3 or like none of them, what would, I think we,
That's a good question.
yeah, I think we have to answer it that way too.
Hmm.
I
So if
think-
it's all 3.
All 3.
Yeah, I think I'd fire all 3.
Yeah.
I feel like especially since it's been such a constant thing and issue for Thomas, that the safest thing to do is just to fire all 3 of them.
Great, good job everyone.
Anyone want to start us off?
Yes, scenario 2, would you guys still go through with the surrogacy after hearing what you heard?
I say yes, because as someone who is, like, not me personally, but just if you're someone who is in the professional, like the profession of healthcare, you are obliged to, like, help anybody you want. I feel like, well, not anybody you want, but just like anybody who needs to, like, have you, like, secure your services. And so just having the Pope be the one person to kind of influence, not the one person, but just like a main factor in like influencing your decision on this, it goes against just what you swore as a medical professional. So I would personally still do it, since it asks if you would still do it, but yes.
I also completely agree with that standpoint, and I know that one of the big like factors, I know 100,000 is like very large sum of money, and a lot of people obviously can't just cough up $100,000 to have a baby through surrogacy, but those who can, I feel like if you're able to and you want to, especially with couples that, you know, can't have a baby like just through like, you know, like normal like heterosexual sex, I think it's really important for people to, like, all people like deserve to have children if they want to have children. And on top of that, especially like as a medical professional and like from a public health standpoint, not providing like IVF treatment because of faith is, you know, against what you should be doing. And also not providing to, you know, homosexual couples is not equitable, so.
Yeah, I feel like you guys make good points too, but it doesn't, like, for me, it didn't mention that he was like the only one in the local area, so I know like religion and state and like religion and your career should be separate, but some people, like per se, if he was Christian and took it seriously, then I think he should be able to step back from that, especially because it goes against his beliefs, kind of like, what's that, the term, medical term, when you have to like kill somebody because they're like no longer able to, you know what I mean?
Like an assistant, like
Yeah,
somebody else's
right?
assistant.
So some people aren't comfortable doing that, and so if he was the only one, it would be a little bit more trickier, but, or if the person who was doing it. So I would say I wouldn't do it anymore if I was like if I thought it was wrong.
Mhm.
And yeah.
I think, my opinion on it, I think he should go through with it. I think one thing he has to consider before going through it is there's other options that have less ethical concerns as well. Like, I don't know if they've considered adoption or other ways as well. So I think he just needs to make sure that all his patients are understanding the method and that this is the thing that they want and that the only thing that would work for them in this scenario.
Mhm.
I think you guys all make a lot of good points, especially like being a medical professional, respecting your patient's like, autonomy is one of the most imperative things. But I think you made a good point with like how religion and work is sort of integrated, especially there was a Supreme Court case with the baker and them not wanting to make a cake for a gay couple, which went all the way to the Supreme Court, which is similar to this scenario, but sort of in my perspective, I feel like if you are, especially in the medical professional field, you have to sort of fulfill your duties because, you know, that's what you signed up for. And I don't think you would have committed that much school, money, resources to sort of turn down somebody that you've been working to help.
Wait, question. I don't know if is this about like him treating or not? Cause I hope I didn't answer the wrong question. Him treating the lesbian couple or him just stopping surrogacy overall?
Because overall, this is like, it also has to like, this is you in this scenario.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have all these like you don't have to agree with these thoughts, but like these are what the scenario says, you have these thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of asking like, since you have all these like thoughts in your head about like surrogacy, would you still follow through with assisting the lesbian couple with the like
And in the future.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, like me personally, I would continue, but for whoever like else, if they have like religion playing into it, I think they have the right to like, if it was like across the board, not just with the lesbian couple. But okay, just clarifying if I answered the right question. Oh my god. Okay.
I think my thoughts with this is that it's the Pope just saying a global ban, but I don't see anything about repercussions if someone were to do this.
Mhm.
To me, it's that these people that are coming to you to get this done don't really care what the Pope is saying.
Mhm.
So it's more about how you feel. So like how you're saying, if it's me personally that I'm taking great like Pope's words to heart, then yeah, you should stop if you're not gonna put your full attention to your clients about this. But if you can put that to the side, you, as a doctor, your whole, what's the thing that you do what, no matter what it takes to help your patient?
Yeah.
Your oath. So I think it's, if you're taking it to heart, don't do it,
Mhm.
because then you're not putting your full attention to your clients.
Yes.
But if you really don't care, continue doing it, because I don't
Mhm.
see any repercussions to it. They'll go to someone else that will do it,
Exactly.
and it might be someone so much worse than you.
Mhm.
So
And I think just in general, like, there's always this this like agenda of like, if you don't want like a baby, then don't have one. And it's like, what's it called? And the ask at the end, should anyone be able to like do any more surrogacies? I like, sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's just more a matter of, like you said, people who are going to like get this like, who can pay for a surrogate and are getting a surrogate are not going to care what the Pope says or just what the world has to say about it. If you want a child, get a child. And if you're able to pay for a surrogate, then 100% go for it. And it's all just a matter of you as a medical professional taking an oath to assist anyone that needs your help. And I think going against that oath is very, very unethical, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also wanted to touch on that, like technically with like the couple that we're given as an example, it's not technically a surrogacy because it's just the implantation of the embryo or zygote into the mother to be. So, I don't know, and also, I don't know if you guys wanted to touch on like the specific thing that the Pope was saying. I don't know if you guys have any strong feelings about that.
Deplorable human trafficking.
I disagree with what he said. When I read that, I had to take a double take. I was like, is that true? Especially because like trafficking has a negative connotation, and I don't think it's trafficking. But what are your thoughts?
I think he is very not right for saying it because I don't want to get into like the whole like Catholic Church like agenda and like belief, but just like I think there are so much worse matters when it comes into like actual like human trafficking, and for him to just like degrade people who want a child, who are unable to do it the quote unquote normal way, and say it's deplorable and calling the child an object of trafficking is just it's just very degrading, and so goes against everything that God tells them to do.
I want to push that, and while trafficking concerns in this world are valid, focusing solely on the potential for exploitation might neglect the legitimate needs of the people that are there for the surrogacy, and for couples that are unable to conceive. And so, while religious leaders may morally object to surrogacy on moral grounds, medical professionals operate within a framework of their oath, science, and patient care. But I do want to, on separating from religion, say surrogacy is inherently commodifies the human life, because you're spending a lot of money on it, and exploits vulnerable women in a typical sense, making it an unethical practice. Should it be reconsidered or banned entirely? What do you guys think?
I feel like if he has an issue, or I keep saying he and it's not gender, if I have an issue with it being inaccessible for others, I would probably advocate and try to do it the legislative way and kind of change the prices, and if that was my main concern. So probably do that.
Yeah, I don't really entirely know how the pricing of surrogacy is made, or just how it's conducted.
Yeah.
But it is, I will agree that it is inherently leaning more towards people who are more financially privileged. So there, like I said, there could be change to make being towards that, but I really don't think that surrogacy in general should just be an overall ban, because it is, I'd still believe to be an ethical practice. So.
Does anyone have anything to add? I was just gonna ask that a little bit too. With it being the question of it being ethical or not, with the price attached to surrogacy, I just feel like if there wasn't a price attached to it, and if it was just a practice that anyone could do, I mean, I feel like there would be so many more families just doing surrogacy and doing, pregnancy through IVF, because, there are so many people that can't conceive, like you're saying, the normal way, or have a hard time just conceiving. So with it being a question of ethicalness, I think it is ethical, without the price tag attached, but yeah.
I think my question with this is the pricing isn't per surrogacy, but then it's what they added after it of the wounds of the poor using to satisfy. So is 100,000 going to pay for the surrogacy, or is it an additional price that they're paying the person to have this baby? Because it's not like you can say illegally, ethically, you can't make someone have your baby by doing surrogacy. So I don't understand how it's satisfying the rich when someone volunteers. If they need that money, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, all parties are.
So I don't understand why this question is
Me too. Yeah.
put in here.
Yeah, they bring it like Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Kind of being
Yeah.
You're right, everybody's aware of what's
Mhm.
going on.
Mhm.
So I think we all kind of agreed that to carry forward with it and like you said, if religion was a big thing, then not do it at all.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
yeah. Do you guys
Yeah.
feel comfortable moving on to 4?
So we're doing scenario number 4, people with children and time off.
Mhm.
Does anyone want to start?
I think for me, it's the question itself saying, should the boss tell Jacob he can't? I'm wondering why he can't just have Nikita also take the time off.
Mhm.
Like, is it that bad that 2 people are off? Why does it have to be that either Jacob can have it or he has to come back to work? It's
Yeah.
nothing to do with Nikita at all.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what?
I want to add to that point, because like Nikita might perceive that employees with children receive better treatment or preferred treatment, which could lead to like resentment growing of Nikita, reduced morale, and like claims of discrimination. Especially if the company has no clear policies for granting time off or comp time, which creates like confusion and perceptions of unfairness, which might go over badly within the company morale.
From the, not saying I'm advocating for the boss, but from their perspective, it is Cyber Monday, so that's like probably the busiest time for their own company, and having both of them off at the same time would probably cause some issues with like understaffing. But at the same time, it doesn't state if it's like a huge company or not, so I don't see why they can't just put on another 2 employees to cover for them, because yeah, favoritism is definitely a play here, like a huge play in here. So there's no ethical reason for him to for the boss to say that one deserves more time off than the other, since they both have the same situations with the kids during the holidays. Yes.
Yeah, I think unfortunately he put himself in a bit of a tough situation. I think with Jacob, he already gave him the time off, so in my opinion, that's kind of like set, and he kind of has to work with that. For Nikita, I mean, he also deserves the time off in the same way. I think in the future, there would just need to be more of a clear policy, like, hey, you worked this many hours in this period, this is what you get off, and then the employees have to kind of work around a more set policy for something like family time.
That is a good point. Kind of like stating clear policies, because maybe Nikita assumes that with 60-hour work weeks, he has priority over vacation or time off. Also, with the keeping the word, I agree with that. He already told Jacob, but the statement of why do people with children always get favored? I think that could have been like how he perceives the fairness, because I think to advocate for the boss in the sense, Jacob came to him first before Nikita, and that's why he got it, not because he has family or his daughters are coming over. So I would say maintain the word you have with Jacob and work around it and set clear policies so Nikita or other employees don't assume or perceive it as unfair. So have more procedural fairness.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you two were saying, with the fact that, the boss already granted Jacob time off. And I do agree that it's not an issue of like fairness or like because Jacob has children and Nikita doesn't. It's really just an issue of like who got to asking for the time off first. I mean, I'm sure like all of you have had the same experience where with time off, if you want the time off, you just have to ask for it, and it's, if someone already asked for it off, then there's nothing that you can do about it. So I do think I agree with what Ellie was saying, that there should be like a clear policy in stating that if you want time off, you have to request it in a timely manner, and if someone already asked for it off, then there's nothing you can do about it. I don't think it's necessarily attached that Nikita works more hours and deserves a time off, or that Jacob deserves a time off to be with his family. I think it's just a matter of like timeliness.
I feel like the boss could sort of right his wrongs with offering compensation of having to work on like the most busy day. or not sort of being able to work with Nikita and giving him time off. So if he like offered like double pay or something, or you know, a promise of a few extra days of time off, I feel like it would be a better way to sort of right the ship than going back on his word with Jacob.
So I think I read this completely wrong. So Nikita doesn't have kids, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not gonna change this thing. When I asked why do people with children always get favored over people without children, what do you guys think about that?
I don't think in this case it's tied to, you know, having children or not, but in general, I do understand how like a lot of people feel strongly about, you know, people that do have families that end up taking like a lot of time off because, you know, things happen, there are family emergencies, or like, especially when kids are younger, you know, things are always like out of the blue, like stuff happens. But I do agree with the fact that it might feel unfair, but I don't think that's what it is, if that makes sense.
Likewise, I think Nikita's concerns should be addressed, because if he's feeling like this, probably somebody else could be. So establishing more of like how vacation or time off goes, so there's no room for like, oh, it was because he has kids to assume that. But what are your, sorry.
But I don't think it's anymore about like he has kids. His kids are grown adults that are in college. It's not like he's taking every weekend off or whatever to go with his little kids. Like it's because his 2 college girls are coming in, and like yes, I think I agree with what you said earlier that this is how Nikita's viewing it. It's not really what the boss was thinking at the time that you have children. It's like, yeah, you can take the time off because you asked me first. I don't know. I think the boss should probably just like work around. Maybe Jacob comes in half the day, and then Nikita comes half the day, because it seems that both family events are in town.
Yeah.
Just come for a little, maybe work from home, I don't know. Do something, work around it.
Yeah, there's such a gray area, because I know, like, as an employee too, you have to be, like, some events and some things you can't go to because you didn't know about it beforehand, and you didn't request the time off in time. Like, I don't know what period of time passed before Nikita asked, and like, it'd be nice to know if like that was in the period where you can't request time off for like whatever, a week in advance, 2 weeks, whatever that timeline is.
So what are your guys' thoughts? Should he decline Jacob, or if we all agree to maintain it, or?
I don't think he should decline Jacobs,
Yeah.
since he was someone who clearly met the timeline to get the time off. I don't think he should decline Jacobs. If I were Jacob and he did decline my time off, I'd be a little actually. But also, if I were Jacob, I also wouldn't be my problem that Nikita didn't ask for time off in the time span it needed to happen. So, yeah, he should maintain his word with Jacob.
Yeah, I think he should maintain his word. Maybe just have a discussion with Nikita, like you were saying, maybe compensation of some sort.
Because he's a valuable employee. He's working
Yeah.
60-hour work weeks. I
Like,
don't
make
want
him
to lose
feel
someone.
valuable for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think doing that, and then maybe just have like a team meeting, like implementing clear policies, you know, fairness and transparency are the best way to maintain morale within the establishment. So I feel like something like that would help get everybody back on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't rescind the time off for Jacob.
No,
Five.
Okay, start things off, guys. I'll be honest with you. You are the boss. Don't try to get buddy-buddy with people. If you wanted to, then that's something else that you should be thinking about. But right now, if your business is getting affected because your employees are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, step up, manage your restaurant, get it under control. If you can't work with these people, start finding new people. Like, it's not
And it's like, I completely agree. And it's like, if you're having a dilemma, like, I don't know how long I've been a manager at this restaurant for, but if you're having a dilemma of you might seem like you're micromanaging, then you weren't made to be like a manager in the first place, because like you said, a manager gets stuff done. They don't even like think about, oh, did I say this too harshly? Did I go too soft on them? Like, no, you know what you're saying is too harsh or too, or like not. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I agree with that. 100%. I feel like in my experience also, like with management, just in my work positions, I feel like I've always been like really friendly, and I've been like, you know, I've had really good relationships with my managers, but I've always understood where like the clear line was, especially when I needed to like get stuff done. So I feel like in this scenario, if I'm managing a restaurant and I'm like, obviously I'm friends with my employees, but if it's getting to a point where it's affecting my business and it's clearly like, just like, also it's kind of just like a lack of respect at this point.
Yeah.
You're not a manager in their eyes, so
Yes.
you need to
Potentially agree.
fix that.
I think that's a really good point. I work at a restaurant, and I feel like having breaks at different times, or maybe waiting to take a break for a slow time, is just kind of part of working at a restaurant and part of working around the customers, and something that should be a pretty basic principle to follow for them.
Yeah. Given like with restaurant, I know some managers like schedule people with 30-minute intervals kind of, so it's like I come in at 2, you come in at 2:30. So if they really do want to follow the law, like you know how like you get 15-minute breaks after 4 hours, they can do a scheduling, like staggered scheduling to make sure that everybody does get their breaks. And it's I know by now like U District understands their busy hours, so it would be like in between classes or whatever. So given they know that, they can schedule to accommodate. But also I do feel like the workers are entitled to the breaks, but not collectively where it harms the business. So like you said, stepping up and being a manager. But if that is also scary and they are the only ones to step up, probably scheduling. But yeah. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to touch on was it says here employees lack ethics, empathy, and professionalism. I feel like that is him or her taking out anger, and instead of clarifying with the employees if that's truly what they lack. And I think a lot of people end up making assumptions because they don't communicate their feelings. So as a manager, you should be able to communicate.
I feel like you guys all make a lot of good points, especially with the line of professionalism. Like there should be a very clear line of, I'm the manager, you know, you are my employee, and he has to authorize his authority to sort of establish the grid between him and his employees. But I feel like he can use his relational work style to sort of not come over as like super, because he's worrying about being like controlling or micromanaging. So if he suddenly flips to like a very dictatorial way of managing people, I feel like there might be outlash, like he might lose his employees. Like you don't know the situation of like there might not be people to hire in their stead. So if he used his relational status with his employees to sort of create barriers and better regulations of how they space out their breaks and when they take their breaks, I feel like it would go over much smoother. But
And it also says that few of the workers are college students, meaning like the majority, I'm assuming, are older than college students. Wait, a bit younger than you.
Few of the workers are college students, but others
some
aren't.
are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're young, older than college students. Older?
Yeah.
Okay. Assuming, yeah, since they're all the college students, then they have probably had more work experience than the restaurant, I'm assuming, meaning that they should kind of know how the workplace is, and for them to be acting this way is like a low level of maturity, especially since it's a small business. It's like in the middle of U District, and like stuff needs to get done. If they don't know the handbook of what it means to like be an employee at their grown age, then it's just showing a level of immaturity, and it definitely needs to be addressed. And if he's worried about seeming like he's micromanaging, there are definitely ways to talk to them, like you said, in the like I said, in the relational way of like the buddy relationship he has with them, there are different ways to speak to them about this in like not the most harsh way, but while also still maintaining like his relationship like the same.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out, like, I know that you had like strong feelings about how, you know, the employees, like, they're like old enough to like know how to like be professional and like act correctly in a professional setting. But I do want to kind of shift the focus. I feel like it's not right now how the situation is. It's not the employees' fault exactly, like 100%. Like, yes, they're at fault a little bit, but I feel like it's mainly just a direct result of like poor management. So I feel like if we have fixed managing and like it's like more task oriented and like everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing and they're still acting that way, then then it's an employee issue.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a good point. I think it would start with just like a discussion or a meeting
Yes.
to try to maintain that relationship, but be a little stricter if it becomes more of a problem that you could schedule a bit more strictly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, I think like it should start off like elementary bathroom rule. 2 people at a time. Like,
I like how I go about it in the meeting. It's just more like ask them what they think the problems are in the restaurant, and if they don't really state that like, oh, we've like just been kind of slacking off, then clearly don't recognize like it's their problem, it's an issue with them. So that's the point where you start to like rationalize with them.
To be honest, I just, like disagree with that point because, you know, you're already at a point where they're collaborating with each other to take breaks at a disadvantaged time for your business, and so while you should definitely use your relational status with your coworkers to sort of help mend the relationship, I feel like you have to set clear guidelines of, you know, what's wrong. Like, this shouldn't be allowed to do this, you know, there will be consequences, but I don't know, I feel like.
I totally agree with you because, as like you also said, they lack maturity. Even though you would expect people like per se at their age to have that, a lot of people wouldn't, and so that's where policies and guidelines and rules have to be set, especially as a manager that cares about their business. So the conversation would be beneficial, but while implementing policy. So that's what I would do, kind of like scheduling's gonna change a little bit because of X, Y, and Z, and just being really transparent so there's no room for them to feel like they're well, I guess they are targeted, but no room for them to feel like it's unjust, and also open communication with the employees to see, are you guys feeling overworked, and if so, like, let me add another person to your shift so it's not too much to bear for like heavy traffic. But that's what I would do.
I agree with that.
okay, I think that's what we all agree. First, start off with your relationship with your employees and talk to them in a way that you think will be beneficial. But if it seems that they're still disrespecting you, you are a boss. Step up and start
Set clear
managing.
guidelines.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. We're covering scenario 7, and the questions are: do you take disciplinary action? Do you let it rest? Or what do you do with it, given that the person is a little threatening?
Yeah, I'd say the scenario is very vague when it comes to like, one, how I was duped in the first place, like what happened to my reputation, like how severe was it that like it hurt this many things about myself, and two, what even was the request. So I feel like we could like bring in a bunch of like scenarios to like fill in the blanks and like just go off with
I
those.
think the third paragraph itself is just all like self-feeling, like them saying that it hurt your reputation. I feel like that's your point of view. I don't know if others actually felt like your reputation got worse because of it, and then saying that anyone in your position would have been duped. I don't think that's true either. Everyone has their own opinion and ways of dealing with someone that is obnoxious, so.
And we can go off of like what you said about like, what if they were like at a sports game and they requested time off, but like they said they were like sick or something, but we can go off of that scenario if you want to use that one.
I mean, we don't have to, I don't think that we need to tie to a specific scenario, because in my opinion, the way that I'm looking at it right now, I would absolutely take disciplinary action. Because if an employee, as a manager, if an employee is coming to you and they're like borderline like bullying you into letting them like do something, I don't think that's okay. Like, an employee shouldn't be doing that. And like, also that they should face consequences for that, because I mean, I don't know, would you guys ever do that to your manager? Like, I feel like that's
It's like
not
also
acceptable at
if
all.
you're the manager and you like this, it says the person is like obnoxious and even threatening. That's like grounds for you to even like just fire this person in general, because if you see them as threatening, then like clearly you don't want them in your workplace or want them bossing you around like that.
It's
So
not
that's
that
like-
easy though, you can't just be like, you're annoying, fired.
I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
That is true, but
Actually,
based on
do it.
Well, if
how
they
bad
did
hurt their
yeah.
reputation, then that's enough grounds to like just fire them. But yes, take disciplinary action for sure. I'm not letting that.
I feel like if you're, especially if you're like, if they're abusing your authority and
Mhm.
you granted this request, you did them a favor, and they went behind your back, I feel like that is grounds for whatever disciplinary action should be necessary in the situation. I mean, as Brandon mentioned, there's a lot of gray area, but in the black and white, if they're taking advantage of you as an employer, you have to, put down your foot.
Yes.
I think also that they say that they believe that this person has done this multiple times. If you really think that it's getting that bad, I think start collecting evidence so then you can actually take it and have something to be like, this person needs to leave, like
Yeah.
they're doing bad things.
Yes.
I feel like this scenario also like is opening the eyes for the manager to do internal work, because if you're allowing to be swayed based on somebody being obnoxious and like turning your hand, then that alone is like, you need to have better control over your decisions and your management. So I think that's something they should do. As for disciplinary action for lying, I think that's where they could do disciplinary action. But if you yourself are letting that person get away with it, I think that the person being threatening isn't the only player. The person allowing it is also part of it. So I would just set my foot down, like you said, let them know I don't like what you are doing, but also look internally and
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that it's most likely a repeated situation that's going on means disciplinary action would be a good step to take. I think having a conversation beforehand doesn't hurt, just so you can get a little bit more of the full story. Like, hey, I granted this request, I didn't have all the information, like, why did you hold it from me, or like, I don't know, just getting a little bit more of their side of the story to see if there's, hey, maybe there's like something else going on here before you like just fire that
oh
person.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would say also collaborating with other managers to let them know this happened, let's move forward like this. So
I feel like it was important to note, like, looking at internal actions, how you let this happen in the first place. As you mentioned earlier, like, anyone in your position would have been duped, which isn't necessarily a fact. It's just an opinion of, the situation that you've been duped into. So I feel like there should be an acknowledgement of the mistake that you made. Not only the fact that this person you might not like because they're obnoxious or annoying, like they might be really, really good at their job.
Yeah.
But I feel like you have to analyze your actions.
Yeah, I think it's the last question that it's like, does the fact that the person is obnoxious have anything? It's not that, it's the threatening portion that's worrying and is what should be brought up to others, saying this is the reason why I'm worried about this employee and why I kind of felt that I had to do what they were asking. But like you said, within yourself, like you shouldn't be allowing others to control your decisions.
Yeah. I think we all agree that we should take disciplinary action, right? Yeah. And then, I don't know if how you guys feel about the last question. Also, I know Bella just talked about it a little bit, but I feel like it would have a huge influence on what I decide, especially if I'm deciding to take disciplinary action. It would be very laying on the fact that this person is obnoxious and aggressive and threatening, because if they're doing it to you as a manager, you can also start to think about what they're doing to their peers. So that behavior in the workplace is not good.
I let me present the scenario. Say like you're a bar manager and you have, you know, this person is like a bouncer and their job is to be intimidating, and they've gone away from pressing authority figures, not necessarily at your establishment, but at other places, which is like a known fact. When you hire that person, would that play to the fact of, you know, changing your mind about the decision, or are you guys still with like pushing disciplinary action because of their combined actions and devious plan?
How we on?